I, Michael, always believed that my marriage to Jennifer was built on a solid foundation of love, trust, and mutual respect. For 8 years, we navigated life's challenges and celebrated its joys together, hand in hand. Our bond seemed unbreakable, a testament to the years we had spent building a life side by side. Jennifer wasn't just my wife, she was my best friend, my confidant, and the person with whom I shared my deepest dreams and fears. Together, we created a home filled with laughter and love. Raising our two beautiful children, Emma and Josh, who became the center of our universe. Emma, our bright and inquisitive daughter, was always full of questions about the world, while Josh, our lively and adventurous son, kept us on our toes with his endless energy. Watching them grow and thrive in the environment we had built together filled me with a sense of pride and contentment. Our family life felt complete, a perfect picture of happiness that many could only dream of. But it wasn't just our personal life that we built together. Jennifer and I were also business partners. 5 years ago, we took a bold leap of faith and decided to start our own company. It wasn't an easy journey. There were late nights, stressful decisions, and moments of doubt, but Jennifer was the driving force behind it all. Her dedication to the business was unparalleled. She poured her heart and soul into every aspect, from the smallest details to the big picture strategies. Jennifer had a remarkable ability to see opportunities where others saw obstacles. And her unwavering commitment played a crucial role in the company's success. I watched with admiration as she navigated the complexities of running a business, balancing it all with grace and determination. She was the face of the company, the one who charmed clients with her confidence and charisma, while I focused more on the operational side of things. Together, we were a formidable team, and the business thrived under our combined efforts. We built something that not only provided for our family but also gave us a sense of purpose and accomplishment. Our business, which we named Innovative Horizons, was founded with the vision of revolutionizing the tech industry by integrating cutting-edge solutions with user-centric design. We specialize in creating bespoke software solutions and consulting services tailored to the unique needs of our clients. From developing intuitive applications to providing strategic guidance on technology integration, our goal was to help businesses optimize their operations and stay ahead in a rapidly evolving digital landscape. Jennifer's expertise in market analysis and her keen understanding of emerging trends allowed us to identify gaps in the market and develop innovative products that addressed those needs. She spearheaded our marketing efforts, crafting campaigns that effectively communicated our value proposition and built strong relationships with our clients. Her ability to connect with people and convey the benefits of our services was instrumental in establishing our reputation as a leader in the industry. Meanwhile, my role was focused on ensuring that our technological solutions met the highest standards of quality and efficiency. I managed the development team, overseeing the creation of software that was both reliable and scalable. My technical background and problem-solving skills helped us navigate complex challenges and deliver solutions that exceeded client expectations. Together, we created a synergy that drove our company's growth and success. Our business not only brought us professional fulfillment but also strengthened our partnership. The shared experience of building something from the ground up, facing challenges together, and celebrating our achievements reinforced the deep bond we had. It was a testament to our ability to work as a team, not just in our personal lives but also in our professional endeavors. Looking back, I often marveled at how far we had come, both as a couple and as business partners. We had created a life that many envied, a life that seemed perfect from the outside. Our success, both personally and professionally, was something we had worked hard for, and I believed it was a reflection of the strong bond we shared. Jennifer and I were more than just husband and wife. We were a unit, a team, unstoppable together. I trusted her completely, never imagining that anything could come between us. Little did I know that the very foundation I believed to be unshakable was about to crumble in ways I could never have anticipated. Over time, subtle yet unsettling changes in Jennifer's behavior began to catch my attention. At first, they were small things, easily dismissible, almost insignificant. But as the days turned into weeks and then months, these small things began to accumulate into a pattern that I couldn't ignore, no matter how much I tried to push the nagging doubts to the back of my mind. Jennifer, who had always been so attentive and present at home, started spending longer hours at work. Initially, I didn't think much of it. After all, we were both dedicated to the business, and it wasn't unusual for either of us to stay late at the office when needed. But the frequency of her late nights began to increase, and she started coming home well after the kids were already in bed, often with vague explanations about meetings running late or last-minute client demands. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off, assuring me that it was all part of the pressure of running a successful company. It wasn't just the late nights that bothered me. I noticed that Jennifer had started spending a lot more time with my cousin, Brandon. Brandon had always been close to our family. He was charming, sociable, and someone I had trusted implicitly. He had offered to help with the business here and there, and given that he was family, I saw no harm in it. But recently, their interactions had become more frequent and more personal. Jennifer would mention how much Brandon had been helping her with various aspects of the business, and they seemed to be in constant communication. They'd go to lunch together to discuss strategies, or so she said, and occasionally even worked late into the night on what she described as important projects. At first, I found their closeness a bit odd but tried to rationalize it. After all, it made sense that she would rely on him for support. He was family, and he had some business experience. Jennifer insisted that Brandon was just being a good cousin, helping us navigate the complexities of the company. Yet, despite my attempts to convince myself that everything was normal, a lingering sense of unease began to grow inside me. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that the changes in Jennifer's behavior went beyond just her professional life. At home, she seemed distracted and distant, as if her mind was somewhere else. Our conversations became shorter and less meaningful. When I tried to talk to her about our day or make plans for the weekend, she often seemed preoccupied, offering only half-hearted responses. There were moments when I caught her lost in thought, her eyes glazed over, as if she was mentally far away from me and our family. Even our intimate moments felt different, mechanical, as though she was just going through the motions without any real connection. I couldn't help but notice how she had started taking extra care with her appearance, particularly on the days when she knew she would be seeing Brandon. She would spend more time getting ready, choosing outfits with an attention to detail that she hadn't shown in years. It wasn't lost on me that these were the same days she seemed happiest, even excited, as she left for work. Still, I tried to trust her. I told myself that I was being paranoid, that the stresses of running a business and raising a family were simply taking their toll on both of us. But deep down, a quiet voice of doubt began to whisper that something wasn't right. My mind raced with questions I didn't want to ask. Was she spending all that extra time at the office because of work? And why did she seem so much more engaged with Brandon than with me? Despite all of these signs, I chose to push my suspicions aside. I trusted Jennifer, I had to. After all, she was my wife, my partner in every sense of the word. The very thought that something could be happening between her and Brandon seemed too painful, too impossible to confront. So, I let it go, for the time being, telling myself that everything would work itself out, that there was no reason to doubt her loyalty. But as much as I tried to ignore the warning signs, a part of me knew that things were not as they seemed. One evening, Jennifer told me she had to stay late for a meeting with a client. Normally, I would have accepted this explanation without a second thought, as late meetings were not uncommon in our line of work. But that night, something felt different. It was a gut feeling, a deep, unsettling sensation that I couldn't shake off. The doubt that had been quietly festering inside me for weeks suddenly became too loud to ignore. Despite all my efforts to push aside my suspicions, something inside me screamed that this wasn't just another routine business meeting. As I sat in our living room, the house quiet with the kids already asleep, my mind raced with scenarios I didn't want to imagine. The thought of Jennifer with someone else, especially Brandon, felt like a betrayal too painful to even contemplate. But the more I tried to convince myself that I was overreacting, the more that nagging voice in my head insisted that something was wrong. I could feel the tension building inside me, and before I knew it, I found myself grabbing my car keys and heading out the door. I needed to know the truth, no matter how much it hurt. I drove through the city, my heart pounding in my chest. My thoughts were a whirlwind of fear, anger, and disbelief as I replayed every odd behavior, every late night, and every suspicious glance between Jennifer and Brandon. I felt sick to my stomach, but I knew that I couldn't live in doubt any longer. If something was going on, I needed to see it with my own eyes. I knew the hotel where Jennifer often met clients. It was a well-known spot for business meetings, located in a busy part of town. As I approached the area, I parked a few blocks away and walked the rest of the distance. My hands were trembling, and my breath came in short, shallow bursts. I kept telling myself that maybe I was wrong, that maybe she was meeting a client and I was just letting my imagination get the best of me. But deep down, I feared the worst. When I reached the hotel, I stayed hidden in the shadows, my eyes scanning the entrance. It felt like an eternity, waiting there in the cold night air, my heart beating louder and faster with every passing second. Then, I saw her. Jennifer stepped out of the car, looking more put together than usual, her face illuminated by the streetlights. She wasn't alone. Brandon was with her, walking closely by her side. At first, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My mind refused to accept it. I stood frozen, watching them, desperately hoping that there was some reasonable explanation for what was happening. But as they approached the entrance of the hotel, I saw something that shattered whatever fragile hope I had left. Brandon reached out and took Jennifer's hand. They exchanged a look, one that was far too intimate, far too familiar. Without hesitation, they walked through the doors of the hotel together, their hands still entwined, completely oblivious to the world around them. It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. My vision blurred, and I could feel the blood rushing to my head as the reality of the situation crashed down on me. There was no denying it now. What I had feared most was true. My wife, the woman I had loved and trusted for years, was having an affair with my cousin. The sight of them walking into that hotel together, hand in hand, was like a dagger to my heart. I felt a wave of nausea and rage surge through me, but I was paralyzed, unable to move or even breathe. At that moment, a flood of emotions overwhelmed me: shock, betrayal, anger, and an unbearable sadness. I stood there for what felt like hours, though it was probably only minutes, staring at the hotel entrance as if waiting for some miracle that would undo everything I had just witnessed. But no miracle came. All that remained was the cold, hard truth: my marriage was a lie, and the life I thought I knew had been irrevocably shattered. The next day, I felt like I was trapped in a fog of disbelief and rage. The image of Jennifer and Brandon walking into that hotel together played on an endless loop in my mind. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, hand in hand, stepping into a world that I had been painfully excluded from. It took all my strength to hold myself together, to not confront her immediately, but I knew I needed to wait. I needed to confront her when I had the clarity to demand the truth, no matter how much it would hurt. When Jennifer finally returned home that evening, everything felt surreal. She walked through the door, looking as if nothing had happened, greeting me with the same casual smile that she had used countless times before. But this time, I couldn't pretend. My blood boiled as I watched her move through the house, oblivious to the storm that was about to hit. I didn't wait long. As soon as the kids were occupied in their rooms, I cornered her in the kitchen, my voice cold and steady, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. "We need to talk," I said, trying to keep the anger from breaking through too early. She seemed surprised, maybe even a little nervous, but still tried to keep her composure. "Sure, what's going on?" I stared at her, my eyes searching for any sign of the woman I thought I knew. But all I could see was betrayal. "Where were you last night, Jennifer?" Her response was predictable. She fell into the same rehearsed routine, telling me she had a late meeting with a client. But I was done with the lies. I cut her off sharply. Don't lie to me. I know where you were. I know you were with Brandon. Her face went pale, and for a moment, there was nothing but silence between us. The weight of the truth hung in the air, thick and suffocating. She opened her mouth to say something, maybe another lie, maybe a denial, but then she saw the look in my eyes. She knew there was no point in trying to cover it up any longer. Jennifer lowered her gaze, her voice barely a whisper. It's true, she admitted. Brandon and it's been going on for a few months now. Hearing her say it out loud was like a punch to the gut. Even though I had seen it with my own eyes, the confirmation from her lips still hit me like a ton of bricks. I wanted to scream, to shout, to demand how she could do this to me, to our family, but all I could do was stand there, stunned into silence. She continued, her words spilling out quickly, as if she thought explaining herself would somehow make it better. I didn't mean for this to happen, Michael. It just did. We started spending more time together because of the business, and then feelings got involved. I didn't want to hurt you, but what, Jennifer? I finally found my voice, though it trembled with barely contained fury. You didn't want to hurt me, but you decided to have an affair with my cousin? You thought that would somehow be less painful? She flinched at my words, her eyes filling with tears. I'm sorry, Michael. I didn't expect this to happen, but I couldn't stop it. I have feelings for Brandon. Stop, I interrupted her, raising a hand to silence her. I couldn't bear to hear anymore. The mention of her so-called feelings made me sick. How could she talk about emotions when all I could think about was the devastation she had caused? How could she justify tearing our family apart for something as fleeting as a feeling? Do you even realize what you've done? I asked, my voice harsh. Do you have any idea how much you've destroyed? She nodded, tears streaming down her face now, but I couldn't bring myself to care. Her tears didn't move me. They only made me angrier. Michael, I never wanted this to happen. I don't even know how it got this far. I laughed bitterly. You don't know how it got this far. You made a choice, Jennifer. You chose to betray me, to betray our marriage, and for what? For some feelings you have for Brandon? What about the years we spent together? What about our children? She sobbed, but I was beyond comfort. I turned away from her, unable to look at her any longer. I can't do this anymore, I said quietly, more to myself than to her. I can't keep pretending everything is okay when you've been lying to me all this time. I left the kitchen, leaving her standing there in tears. There was nothing more to say. Her confession had confirmed everything, and no amount of apologies or explanations could change what had happened. The marriage I had once believed to be unbreakable was now irreparably broken. And there was no going back. Realizing that our marriage had no future was a painful, yet inevitable conclusion. The betrayal had cut too deep, and no amount of apologies or attempts at reconciliation could mend the damage that had been done. The woman I had once trusted more than anyone had shattered that trust in a way that left me feeling hollow and disillusioned. I knew that staying in this broken relationship would only prolong the agony for both of us. The love and partnership that had once defined our marriage had turned into something unrecognizable, a bitter reminder of what we had lost. With a heavy heart, I decided to file for divorce. It wasn't an easy choice, but it was the only one that made sense. I couldn't continue living a lie, pretending that we could somehow rebuild what had been destroyed. Every time I looked at Jennifer, all I could see was her betrayal, and every interaction felt tainted by the knowledge of what she had done. The home we had built together no longer felt like a sanctuary. It had become a place filled with ghosts of the past and the unbearable weight of everything that had gone wrong. For the sake of my sanity and the well-being of our children, I knew I had to end it. When I told Jennifer that I had decided to file for divorce, she didn't seem surprised, but her reaction wasn't what I expected. Instead of pleading for forgiveness or trying to salvage our marriage, she focused on the business. She seemed more concerned about what would happen to the company we had built together than about the end of our relationship. "Michael, please," she said, her voice edged with desperation. "I know I messed up, but the business, it's everything I have left. We worked so hard to build it. Can't we at least keep that together?" I looked at her, trying to comprehend how she could still care so much about the business after everything that had happened. To me, the business had become a symbol of her betrayal. It was no longer the venture we had created together with hopes and dreams of a shared future. Instead, it was tainted by the lies and deceit that had torn us apart. I couldn't separate the business from the hurt she had caused me. And the thought of continuing to work alongside her, even in a professional capacity, was unbearable. "Jennifer, the business may mean everything to you now, but to me, it's just a reminder of what we've lost," I said, my voice steady but filled with the weight of my decision. "I can't keep it together with you. Not after everything that's happened." She tried to argue, her tone shifting between pleading and frustration. "I need this, Michael. It's the only thing I have left. You can't take it away from me. I put my heart and soul into this company." I shook my head, resolute in my decision. "And I put my heart and soul into our marriage. But you didn't seem to think twice about throwing that away. You made your choices, Jennifer, and now I'm making mine." For Jennifer, the business had become her lifeline, the one thing she could cling to as everything else fell apart. She saw it as her salvation, her escape from the wreckage of our marriage. But for me, it was a burden I no longer wanted to carry. I couldn't work side by side with someone who had betrayed me so deeply, and I certainly couldn't allow her to keep control of something we had built together on a foundation of trust that no longer existed. The conversations that followed were difficult and draining. Jennifer pleaded with me to reconsider, to allow her to stay involved in the business. She argued that we could at least maintain a professional relationship and that it didn't have to end like this. But I couldn't see any path forward that didn't involve severing all ties. The business had become intertwined with our personal lives in a way that made it impossible for me to separate the two. Every decision, every meeting, every discussion about the future of the company would be tainted by what had happened between us. I couldn't live like that. Ultimately, I made it clear that I was not only ending our marriage but also taking full control of the business. The legal process was complex, but I was determined. I knew that Jennifer would fight for it, but I was prepared for that battle. For me, keeping the business wasn't just about the financial aspect. It was about reclaiming something from the ashes of what had been destroyed. It was about asserting control over my life after everything had spiraled out of control. In the end, Jennifer couldn't change my mind. The divorce papers were filed, and the business, the very thing she had fought so hard to keep, was no longer hers. It was a bitter victory, one that didn't bring me the satisfaction I had hoped for, but it was necessary. The chapter of my life with Jennifer was closing, and I needed to move on, both personally and professionally. The business would survive, but our marriage would not. After everything that had happened, walking away from Jennifer and our shattered marriage wasn't enough. The pain of her betrayal gnawed at me, refusing to fade, and I realized that I couldn't simply let her move on with her life as if nothing had happened. She had taken something irreplaceable from me, my trust, my faith in her, and the life we had built together. In return, I decided to take away what mattered most to her, the business. This wasn't just about money or assets, it was about sending a message. Jennifer had poured her heart and soul into that business. It was more than just a career for her, it was her identity, her pride, and after our marriage crumbled, the one thing she thought she could still hold on to. She believed the business was her sanctuary, a place where she could find redemption for what she had done. But I wasn't going to let her escape that easily. Legally, the business was in my name. When we first started it, Jennifer and I had agreed that I would hold the majority stake, 51% to be exact. It was a decision we made early on, believing that it made sense for tax and liability purposes. At the time, Neither of us could have imagined it would one day become a weapon in a much larger battle. Now, that control was my leverage, and I planned to use it to the fullest extent. The more I thought about it, the clearer my plan became. Jennifer had always taken charge of the business, and I had let her. She was the face of the company, the one with the connections and the drive. But behind the scenes, I still held the power, and now it was time to wield it. This wouldn't be a rash decision. I needed to be strategic, methodical, and above all, ruthless. The first step was to solidify my position. I began quietly reaching out to our business partners, people Jennifer had long considered allies. Many of them were sympathetic to my situation, and once they understood that I was still legally in control of the company, they were willing to listen. I painted a picture of stability and continuity, assuring them that the business would remain strong under my sole leadership. Behind the scenes, I started laying the groundwork to remove Jennifer from any position of authority. Next, I consulted with my attorneys. I needed to ensure that every move I made was legally airtight. The stakes were high, and I couldn't afford any mistakes. Together, we reviewed every document, every contract, and every agreement Jennifer had ever signed. Slowly but surely, the pieces of my plan began to fall into place. The more I learned, the more confident I became that I could strip her of everything she had worked for, everything she had sacrificed our marriage for. When the time came, I acted swiftly. I called for a board meeting, one that Jennifer didn't even realize was happening until it was too late. There, with the backing of our partners and my legal team, I executed the plan. Jennifer was blindsided, completely unaware that I had been working behind the scenes to dismantle her position in the company. I could see the shock in her eyes as she realized what was happening. The company she had once controlled, the business she had built from the ground up, was slipping away from her grasp. Her pleas, her arguments, fell on deaf ears. The partners voted in my favor, and the legal documents were signed, transferring full control to me. Jennifer was left with nothing. It was over, and she knew it. I'll never forget the look on her face when she realized she had lost everything. It wasn't just the shock, it was the devastation, the dawning realization that her entire world had crumbled. The pain she had inflicted on me, the betrayal, the lies, it all came crashing back on her in that moment. She had gambled everything, and now she had nothing left. That moment of victory was bittersweet. Seeing Jennifer defeated didn't erase the hurt or undo the damage she had caused. But it did give me a sense of closure, a finality that I desperately needed. I had taken back control of my life, and in the process, I had taken away the one thing she thought she could still control. Now, the business was mine, and she was left to pick up the pieces of her life. The divorce process was anything but painless. It was grueling, emotionally draining, and filled with moments that tested my resolve. Despite the anger and betrayal I felt, there were still remnants of the life Jennifer and I had built together. Entangling those memories from the harsh reality of our present situation was no easy task. Every negotiation, every legal document, and every court appearance felt like another wound, reopening old scars and reminding me of the deep fracture that had torn our lives apart. Yet, despite the turmoil, I managed to come out of the divorce with the two things that mattered most to me: the business and the majority of our assets. It wasn't just a legal victory, it was a personal one. The business had become a symbol of my perseverance, my ability to reclaim what was rightfully mine. Jennifer fought hard to keep a foothold in the company, but she had underestimated my determination. Her pleas and arguments, her attempts to leverage our past, and the years we had spent building the company, all fell short. The law was on my side, and so were the facts. I had positioned myself too well for her to break through. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, Jennifer tried every tactic she could think of to regain some control. She contested the asset division, argued over financial settlements, and even tried to appeal to the courts for a larger share of what we had accumulated over the years. But each time, her efforts were thwarted. The legal framework I had established, the contracts and agreements that protected my interests, held strong. it became clear that she was fighting a losing battle. With each passing day, her grip on our shared life weakened, and the reality of her choices came crashing down on her. When the dust finally settled, I walked away with not just the business, but also a significant portion of our financial assets. The company, now fully under my control, continued to thrive, even without Jennifer's involvement. It was a bittersweet triumph, knowing that what we had built together was now mine alone. The business was no longer a shared dream, but a testament to my endurance through betrayal and heartbreak. Jennifer, on the other hand, was left with far less than she had anticipated. The legal system didn't reward infidelity, and despite her best efforts, she couldn't change the outcome. She had to come to terms with the fact that the life she had once known was over, and there was no going back. The business that had been her lifeline was gone, and with it, much of the financial security she had taken for granted. As if that weren't enough, her personal life began to crumble as well. Brandon, the very man she had thrown everything away for, soon realized that his relationship with Jennifer was more trouble than it was worth. What had likely started as a passionate affair quickly soured when confronted with the harsh realities of their situation. Brandon, who had once been so enamored with the idea of being with Jennifer, began to distance himself as the consequences of their actions became clear. Jennifer's life, which she had once thought she could rebuild with Brandon by her side, started to fall apart piece by piece. The affair that had seemed so thrilling and freeing at first turned out to be nothing more than a fleeting fantasy. Brandon, seeing the chaos that followed Jennifer, eventually decided that he didn't want to be a part of it. He left her, realizing that their relationship was built on lies and deceit and that staying with her would only bring more problems into his life. In the end, Jennifer was left alone, with nothing but the remnants of the life she had chosen. The business, the marriage, and even her relationship with Brandon, all were gone. She was forced to confront the reality that her choices had led her down a path of destruction, leaving her isolated and without the things she had once valued most. For me, the consequences were different. The divorce marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. It was painful, yes, but it also brought a sense of closure. I had fought for what was mine and emerged stronger. The scars of Jennifer's betrayal would always be there. But they served as a reminder of my resilience. I had survived the storm, and now it was time to rebuild, on my terms. The business continued to flourish, and with it, my sense of purpose. I moved forward, knowing that I had reclaimed my life from the wreckage of our marriage and that I was ready to face whatever came next. In the aftermath of the tumult that had upended my existence, a new chapter began to unfold, marked by a profound transformation. I had finally broken free from the shackles of my previous life, choosing to strike out on my own and build a business from the ground up. This wasn't merely an economic endeavor, it was a testament to my resilience and determination to forge a path that was entirely my own. The decision to embark on this new venture was both exhilarating and daunting. It required not just financial investment but an immense amount of emotional and intellectual energy. The very act of creating something from nothing felt like an act of rebellion against the chaos that had once threatened to engulf me. Each day was filled with challenges, but with each challenge came an opportunity to prove to myself and the world that I was capable of greatness, despite the shadows of the past. As I navigated the complexities of running my own business, I also made a conscious effort to redirect my focus towards my children. They had been my source of solace and strength throughout the turmoil. My previous life had often pulled me away from them, leaving me with a sense of regret that lingered like an unhealed wound. Now, I was determined to make up for lost time, to be present for them in ways I had been unable to be before. The hours were long, and the demands were high, but I made it a point to be there for my children. Their laughter, their milestones, and their simple presence became the foundation of my new life. I was no longer just a father in name but a father actively involved in their upbringing, shaping their lives with a renewed sense of purpose and love. It was a form of redemption, a way to heal the wounds inflicted by the past. Yet, despite the progress and the apparent healing, the scars of betrayal remained. The pain of the deceit that had shattered our family was not something that could be erased or forgotten. It was a constant, lingering reminder of the treachery that had once been a part of my world. Time, as they say, heals all wounds, but the evidence of that betrayal was etched into my very being, a permanent reminder of the price I had paid. However, amidst the scars and the lingering pain, I found a profound sense of peace. The act of rebuilding my life and nurturing my children was not just an escape from the past but a form of justice. By creating a successful business and finding happiness in my role as a father, I had, in my way, taken a stand against the forces that had sought to destroy me. It was my form of retribution, my way of asserting that while the past had been painful, it would not define my future. In this new phase of life, I discovered that true strength lay not in the absence of scars but in the ability to move forward despite them. The past would always be a part of me, but it no longer dictated my destiny. I had taken control of my narrative, and in doing so, I had reclaimed my life and my future. Nicolo for me. While rebuilding my life and finding solace in my role as a father and entrepreneur, something unexpected happened. I met someone who would become a beacon of hope and renewal for me. Her presence was like a gentle balm to the wounds of my past, soothing the deep-seated pain and offering a new perspective on love and companionship. Her kindness and understanding provided a sanctuary where I could be vulnerable and authentic, something I had long since forgotten how to do. Her laughter, a sweet and melodic sound, became a daily reminder that joy could still exist in my life. With her, the shadows of my past seemed to recede, replaced by a warmth and affection that I had thought were beyond my reach. She listened without judgment and supported me with an unwavering belief in the possibility of a brighter future. Her faith in me, even when my own was faltering, was a profound gift that began to mend the broken pieces of my heart. In her eyes, I found a reflection of the person I aspired to be, a person capable of love and deserving of happiness. Her gentle touch and reassuring presence helped me to slowly peel away the layers of hurt and mistrust that had accumulated over the years. Each moment with her was a step toward healing, a testament to the power of love to transform even the deepest of wounds. Our time together was not just about escaping the pain of the past. It was about building a future where love and trust could flourish once more. With her, I learned that healing wasn't about forgetting the past but about finding the strength to embrace a new beginning. Her love became the foundation upon which I could rebuild my life, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Through the challenges and joys we faced together, I discovered that the scars of betrayal could coexist with a renewed capacity for love. She helped me see that my past did not have to dictate the course of my future. Instead, it was a part of my story that led me to this moment of profound connection and understanding. Her support and love gave me the courage to face the world with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. She showed me that true healing comes from allowing oneself to be loved and to love in return. With her, I found a new chapter in my life, one filled with the promise of joy and the reassurance that I could build a future that was as bright as it was meaningful. In her arms, I discovered that the journey of healing was not a solitary one. It was a shared experience, enriched by the bonds of love and the strength of companionship. Her presence in my life was a powerful reminder that, even in the aftermath of betrayal, there is always the potential for new beginnings and the promise of a love that can mend even the deepest of wounds.